I sent an email to 198 people and it made $52,000. And before you think that was a fluke, I did it again. Another email to just 102 people, $30,000. Why did these emails get such huge results? Simple. They harnessed the power of stories. And today I want to talk about the stories you are sitting on right now and not telling. The exact ones that move money. As a female online business owner with dreams of more income, more impact, and more freedom, you know there's more potential in your business waiting to be unlocked. But figuring out how to shape and transform your biz and get seen, loved, selling, and scaling can feel like, well, a mystery. So how do you cut through the noise, create offers that deeply resonate, sell and scale without you always being on, all while creating a life you love? That is exactly what this show is about. Welcome to Seen, Loved, Selling, Scale. I'm Corinda, your small biz marketing sidekick, digital offer strategist, and online biz bestie. With tens of thousands of digital offers sold, tens of thousands of people helped, and millions of dollars in revenue generated in my own business as a small business owner. And through this podcast, I am here to share it all. You'll gain clear, actionable insights, strategies, and shortcuts to master your online marketing, build scalable online offers, and create a business model that works for you as much as it works for your people, so you can grow your income, amplify your impact, and free up more of your time. Let's get started. A massive welcome to you. Welcome to the Seen, Loved, Selling, Scale show. And I am so glad you are here because today we need to talk about storytelling. Because storytelling is so damn powerful. And it can be so easy as well if you just know how and remember to use it more often. I personally harness the power every day. And likely you are being influenced by stories every day yourself. And it's time for you to harness the power as well. In the intro, I mentioned 2 emails using storytelling as part of the overall email that brought in $52,000 and $30,000. No big launch, no fancy funnel, just the right stories told the right way. But here is what I really want you to understand. Those emails are one tiny corner of this. Because once you understand the power of stories and once you know what stories to tell, you can and should be using them everywhere. Stories are one of the pillars of my whole social media strategy. They're woven through my serve and sell emails. They go on my sales pages. I use them slide by slide in my Instagram stories. And they get big results. My engagement holds strong all the way through the sell instead of dropping off the second people smell a pitch. And this isn't only a me thing. The data on this is honestly wild. Storytelling can lift your conversion rate by around 30%. Not your engagement, your conversions, the thing that actually pays the bills. 95% of our buying decisions are made subconsciously, driven by emotion and not logic. Become a master of stories. You become a master of selling that feels so much easier. And when you give someone a plain fact, they remember about 5 to 10% of it, but wrap that same fact in a story and they remember 65 to 70%. When you want to stand out, be the person people keep coming back to. Stories are a huge part of this. And on top of all of that, something like 92% of people say they actually want brands to talk to them more like stories, and hardly anyone is doing it enough. So stories work. You know they work. I'm not here to convince you of that, but here is the problem. People are telling the wrong stories, or they're not telling enough of them. Or, and this is the big one, they think a story has to be this massive, dramatic rags to riches production. So they freeze, they go, I don't have any stories. And they tell you that while sitting on a literal gold mine. And that is completely incorrect. A story can be a handful of lines woven into a sales page. It can be a few slides in your Instagram stories right before you lead into a sell. It can be a simple carousel. It does not need to be long. It does not need to be dramatic. It just needs to be a small window, a window where someone looks in and feels something, emotive, hopeful, reassuring, a window where they go, oh, another real human has actually been through this. You are not writing a novel. You are weaving in a moment in conversation. So the thing standing between you and all of this is simple. You need to know what stories to tell. And that is exactly what I'm going to help you with today. So let's get into it, starting with story 1, and that is the origin story. And you don't just have one of these, you have numerous, because everything you have in your business started from somewhere, and that story should be told. Your business, your offer, a method you use, anything you've got going on in your biz. Where did it come from? Where did it actually come from? Because I promise you, where that thing came from is so important for that person on the other side to know. Like maybe you created a method out of a desire you had. Maybe it took you lots of trial and error to get it right. Maybe the whole thing was born out of you struggling with something and just needing it to be better. And when we tell that story, something happens. When we talk about that desire you had, the person on the other side goes, oh, I have that desire too. When we talk about the trial and error, they see themselves in it. And they also realize, oh, she fast-tracked this for me. This thing is actually proven. She already did all the messing around, so I don't have to. And when they can see you had the same struggle they're having, that's powerful. But here's the bit that really gets them, not just the same struggle, the same flavor of struggle. Maybe you were a working parent and so are they. Maybe you're a solopreneur doing it all on your own. Maybe you struggled with the exact thing that is keeping them up at night and then you broke through. They connect to that so much more than you just going, I have this method or I have this offer or I have this thing. Because now they're going, oh, you had the thing I have and you've got the solution for it now. And that is just so much more meaningful. So here's what I want you to do for every method you've got, every offer, the business you have right now. I want you to ask yourself, what's the origin story that came before this? What was the why that made it the way it is? Where was the spark or the struggle or the desire that this whole thing came out of? And then use it like this instead of just going, I'm so excited to be opening the doors to blah, blah, blah. Start with the story. Go, X years ago, I was sitting there thinking this. I wanted this so badly. I struggled with this for ages. I worked for however long to finally break through it. And that is how this thing came to life. And today, I'm so excited to open the doors so that if you're struggling with that same thing or you want that same thing, you can have it too. Can you see the difference there? It's the same offer, but that story before is what instantly, emotionally, and mentally connects that person more to you, to what you are selling, to help them see it deeper in their life, in their story. And then you can talk logically to them with what the offer actually entails, with them already understanding the deeper impact this has had and can also have for them. And that is the power of this simple story before the sell or within the sell. And then up next, as story number 2, we could be telling, that is the value behind the value. And when people understand our values in our business, who we are, where we stand on things, there is so much deep evidence to say that this impacts sales dramatically. And every business, every person has a stand on things. And I don't mean you being out there with picket signs protesting in the street for massive issues, although it could be that too. I literally mean here, for example, in my business, my value is affordability. One of the reasons that I price my products lower than others on the market do is because throughout my journey as someone who grew up in a lower socioeconomic environment, being out of home in a foster carer situation for part of my childhood, I have been insanely grateful to have been at the receiving end of elements like scholarships through university, for example, and that accessibility and affordability wrapped around education for me changed my life. Without it, I don't know where I would be today, and now I want to do that for others. When I share this story around why, just as one example, my products are priced the way they are. And when people then see that price point, there is this emotion they feel behind that, saying, I don't just see the value in that. I understand why it's priced the way it is. Or they know things about me then that connects them to me, my background, my upbringing, the legacy I want to leave on the world now. And that can connect us in different ways also. So I want you to think about the stuff you stand for in your business. Affordability, why you serve the people you serve. Sustainability, doing things with integrity, whatever yours are. And most people, when they talk about their values, they just sort of state them. They go, I value affordability. And like, lovely, that's true, but it's a bit flat. That's absolutely okay to have in a short value statement on your website. But those values should then be spoken about in deeper ways all throughout your brand, because anyone can type that sentence, anyone. But here's the thing, underneath every value you actually hold, there's a story. There's a reason it's a value for you in the first place. So go through your values and behind each one, just ask yourself, What's the story here? Why is this the way it is for me? And tell that version instead. So that's stories 1 and 2. Let's talk story 3. This one you want to tell wherever you can. And this one is amazing for things like content topics, for example. But this one is the little shift. And I see so many people skip this or just not go looking for it because maybe they didn't know that they are allowed to share smaller micro stories. Or maybe they have just been stuck looking for these big, massive stories over time. But these little shifts and why they come about or how they've paid off for you or what you learned through them, they can help others make shifts of their own or see your journey and your credibility and your lived experience. And that is so powerful. It's a way to not only create marketing that is engaging, that is interesting to the other person, that they are going to get value out of as well, but to also position yourself. And this compounds the more and more you do it. Someone on your Instagram sees a story there about why I stopped doing X and how it helped me get Y result and why you could do this too if you wanted X, Y, Z. In your stories, they see you sharing your experience with ABC tool. In an email, they see a few lines about how you also applied this piece of information that you are giving them and how it was tough for you at first. So you changed this part of it, and now this is why this approach is so different because it works for people like you and your IC instead of, in inverted commas, normal advice. And these stories all throughout your brand have this impact of connection, trust in you, positioning of you, information that's shared in a way nobody else can because it's your unique story and take. They build your personal brand throughout your content as well. And all of this is so damn powerful just by sharing little shifts. So next time you go to share a piece of information, an approach to something, a recommendation you have for someone to do something a certain way, ask yourself, what is my experience with this? What are the shifts that I made around this over time? Or what did it help me shift in my life? And how has that paid off? And weave that through that content as well. And just before we go any further, those 3 story types were story types that help you get loved. And now I'm going to share with you 3 story types that help you get selling. When I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I wrote those emails that were sent to small amounts of people with massive results, the emails weaved in both types of stories that served and then stories that sold. In the email, I told an origin story about an offer and my values behind creating it. And then I sold it using these stories that I'm about to talk about as well. Because you also don't just have to use one single type of story, although you can. It really can just be layers in the one piece of content and layers through your content overall. And a real talk love note as well. I know that you are an incredible entrepreneur. I know that you have stories to tell. I know you want to make marketing that truly converts. However, I also know that you are short on time, that you have so many things on your plate, and that even though you often have the absolute best intentions, sometimes when it comes to applying the things you are learning, it's easier said than done because of all the other things you're juggling and are an expert in as well. So while you may be listening to this today, and I cannot wait to see you apply these, I also want you to know, if you know that once you stop listening to this episode and real life takes over, that you may forget some of these or go to create them and be a little bit stumped around how to say this, how to start it, how to write this. I want you to know I would love to create your content for you based on everything that is working right now in marketing, including these different types of storytelling and so much more through the Content Mastery Club. Because inside the club, I don't just teach you what matters. I make the content, the plans, the posts, the emails for you. We have the Seen Loved Selling Lab inside, which is an incredible tool getting the most incredible results that is AI powered. So your content is ready instantly. But more importantly, it is AI that isn't general and is trained on what actually converts for small business owners speaking to small business audiences. It's content that gets you seen, that gets you loved, that gets you selling with these stories weaved in, with credibility, with activation, with engagement, with conversion. Everything you need that you don't have to think about. It learns about you. It writes as you, and it's content done for you in seconds, from posts to emails to Instagram stories to launches and so much more. And if you want to see that lab tool in action, you can watch it work its magic through the link in the show notes under the Content Mastery Club link. But now let's get back to our 3 stories that sell. And the first selling story, it is a big one. And this is your outcome stories. The stories around yourself or people inside your world who have used your offers and exactly what they achieved. This is the story of someone who actually used your thing. And I want to be so clear. This is not just about putting up a testimonial from someone. This is a story that you tell around them or yourself. This is where they started, the friction that they met along the way, what you implemented with them and what the outcome of that was, and how their lives look now that that is in place. It is not them saying, I loved working with so-and-so, she's so incredible. It is you sharing their past, their transformation, their now reality, because your ideal client is likely sitting in that person's past right now. We need to see that that person was once where they are, the pain, the struggle, the desires. They then need to see the barriers that this person was facing that they overcame, because likely they have barriers too that they believe will stop them from getting there. But when they see that others shared those and still succeeded, it moves them forward through those objections. They need to understand that this person was able to transform through your methods, your product, your business, and then they need to see where that person is now, and that is somewhere that they want to be. Because here's why this one works so hard. When someone is sitting there thinking about buying from you, there is almost always a quiet little voice going, yeah, but that won't work for me. That works for her, but my situation's different. My life is weird. I don't have time. And you cannot argue that voice away. If you go, no, it will work for you. They just dig their heels in. But a story sneaks right past that voice because you're not arguing with them. You're just telling them about someone else, even if that someone else is yourself. So while you can share testimonials that say, wow, so-and-so is so great, she helped me achieve this amazing thing, please remember a testimonial is often only part of the story you want to tell. Start with the past. Talk about the barriers, the resistance, the ups and downs. Talk about what methods were applied, and then talk about where that person is now, including any testimonials of how they feel about having worked with you. This story is one of the most powerful that you can tell. And even if right now you only have your own story, shout it from the rooftops over and over again in lots of different places. And then while you're at it, I want you to shout this one from the rooftops too. And this is selling story number 5. And this one I love because it does 2 jobs at once. It moves people towards your offer and it overcomes their objections at the same time. And it does it without ever feeling like you're handling an objection, which is the whole trick. So here's the thing. Between your person and the sale, there is almost always a belief in the way, either something they need to believe to help them see the true value in this offer, or a belief they need to shift to stop them having objections about moving forward. And sure, we can state these things as facts, or we can show stats around them. But if we tell a story around them, that is the most powerful vehicle for a shift. And the story type that we spoke about before with the overall transformation, yes, these will help. They are a vehicle for this as well. But I also want you to drill down hard and deep into that exact belief on its own and call it the heck out, loudly, specifically, all the time. I think so often we think that drawing attention to something that someone might be feeling that's negative or a block to our business is a bad thing, but it's actually the best damn thing you can do, especially in story version, where again, there's less resistance to being told they shouldn't think something or feel a certain way, but instead seeing someone else's shifts in stories. And there are 2 really lovely ways in. The first is through your own old belief. You just go, look, I want to be really honest with you. I personally never used to think this way either. I used to believe X. And then this happened and it completely changed how I saw it. That's so disarming because now you're not above them. You're not lecturing. You're just someone who was in the exact same spot and found their way out. The second way in is through a client. You go, when this client first started with me, she said this exact thing to me. She said, Karinda, I don't think this will work because of X. And I want to talk about that because she was so sure of it. And then you tell the story of what shifted for her. And the person listening goes, oh, that's literally what I think. And look what happened for her. Either way, you're calling the belief out into the open, which is powerful all on its own. Because most people are too scared to name the thing the buyer's actually thinking. And then you're gently dismantling it with a real story instead of an argument. So have a think. What's the one belief sitting between your person and your offer? The thing they're quietly sure of that's holding them back. And then ask yourself, did I ever believe that too? And what changed it? Or has a client believed that? And what happened when they let it go? Tell that. Because when you shift the belief, the objection just kind of dissolves on its own. And then lucky last, but certainly not least, our last selling story. And I'm going to be honest with you because I always am. And this one is more of a copywriting technique. However, I am sneaking this in here because it is one that moves people through copy that takes on a storytelling feel. And it is so freaking powerful. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it either because the best copywriting uses this everywhere. And this is the story or technique that makes people truly feel the words that you are saying, to envision the words that you are saying, to see the words you are saying become their future story. And I think the easiest way to explain this one is to actually give you an example. In copy, it is completely okay to say things like, this is for busy mums in business. There's nothing wrong with a call out like that. However, what can increase conversion even further is where we also take this deeper. Where on that sales page or that email or that YouTube video or that podcast, you actually say to someone, this is for the woman who wants to do business differently. I see her all the time. She's at the school pickup line answering a client email on her phone. She's got the laptop open at 9 p.m. after the kids are down, and she's wondering if she's the only one who feels like she's doing everything and still not scaling. She doesn't want to be famous on Instagram. She just wants the income and the freedom she got into this for. If that's you sitting in the pickup line right now, this is the one for you. Can you feel the difference there between this is for a business owner versus telling that real life, deeper, nuanced story that business owner may be living right now? It's this technique where someone sees you calling out their story, or they see you calling out the daydream that they have in tangible, nuanced, specific details about what their life could look like. That makes all the difference. It's words on a page that trigger their logic versus story, a feeling, a sense of belonging, a sense of hope that they can actually live with you, or them feeling like their real life is so deeply understood. When we can weave this technique around turning copy into a story, whether it be you calling them out, you talking about the problems they're experiencing, the transformation that you paint for them, what their life will look like using that offer, this can make a world of difference. All of these can. So as we wrap up this episode today, I really want you to take away the power of storytelling, telling stories that help people to love you, your offers, your products, your methods, to help them consume your content in a more compelling way through stories, not just hints, tips, facts, logic, and then helping people move forward in their buying decision through the deeper impact stories have. So this week, I want you to pick just one of these 6, and go find your version of it and weave it into something you're already putting out there. And again, if you're sitting there going, Corinda, I love this, but I know myself, I'm going to need help actually doing this consistently across my emails and my content and my stories, week in, week out, to not just apply one of these, but actually over time, master all of them. I've got you, because this is the exact work we do inside my membership, the Content Mastery Club, where these elements aren't just taught to you, but this work is done for you as you, where the exact same methods that made me those 2 emails at the beginning of this episode that I told you about have been bottled up and content made from those methods within the lab. So if you want storytelling built into the way you show up everywhere, come and check it out. The club is capped, so there isn't always a spot open, but if the doors are open right now, you'll find the link in the show notes that will show you if there's spots available or not. Come and have a look and see if it's the one for you. Whatever you do though, go and find your stories. Tell the little ones. Tell them everywhere, because they are the most powerful, the most you, and the most uncopyable thing you've got. So big thanks for joining me today as always, and I can't wait to see you next time. Same place, same goal, to get you seen, loved, selling, and scaling. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Seen, Love, Selling, Scale podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, fired up, and empowered to make serious moves that align with your goals and version of success, both in life and business. If you loved what you heard, head over to www.thisisco.com.au to find all the links and resources mentioned in today's episode. And if you aren't already following the show, make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss a future episode when it drops. I'll see you again next week, same time, same place, same goal to get you seen, loved, selling, and scaling. See you then.